Wildstar.
They tell us we are weak. We are not weak if we make a proper use of that means which a gracious God hath placed in our power. Millions of people, armed in the holy cause of liberty. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. The battle is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty, or give me death.
You heard that, and that's the truth. Hey, everybody out there, and welcome to Long Live Liberty with Governor Wildstar, and that's me, Governor Wildstar. Hey, everyone, thank you for joining in with me today. To everyone that did tune in the last time I attempted to record this episode, we were having some technical difficulties, which actually ended up having the recording cut off short. So I apologize to anyone out there that was listening. We have solved the duration issue, so this show will be recording for an hour. Still learning the blog talk radio software, but now that I've gotten that under control, we are back, and I thank you all that are listening. And those that did tune in, what I was talking about, I'd like to pick up where I left off. I was speaking about LeBron James and his recent issue with his home being vandalized. Now, if you guys want to look in the papers, or I don't know if you guys know about this or not, but LeBron James, the basketball player for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm not a basketball fan, don't really care, but he is a very well-known, famous basketball player and is in the NBA Finals. And pretty much just recently, after they had defeated, I guess, one of their competitors to end up going to the finals, someone was enraged and went and vandalized his home in Los Angeles by emblazing it with the word nigger all over it. So this was in the headlines recently, and LeBron James did respond to this incident by saying, by making some comments, one of them which was, no matter how much money you have, no matter how famous you are, no matter how many people admire you, being black in America it's tough. And we got a long way to go for us as a society and for us as African Americans until we feel equal in America. So I want to talk about this incident in particular because this did happen here in Los Angeles, and with me seeking to be the first black governor of California, I definitely want to assure the people of California that I would definitely do my best to fight against racial discrimination of all sorts against not only people of color, but people of different religious beliefs, different sexual beliefs, different beliefs altogether. And that is our liberty as Americans living here in America, is we are at liberty to think and be as we choose. And we shouldn't be, we shouldn't have, issues of violence or any type of incident such be targeted towards us just because of something that we've done and someone else's beliefs. And when it gets to the point where it becomes violent and there becomes an issue of vandalism or someone being harmed due to those beliefs, then that's definitely when someone should get involved, and that someone should be the government if we trust and believe them to do that duty amongst us as the public. So that would definitely be one of the responsibilities as governor, to definitely make sure that the people of California are protected from any type of violent behavior against one another based on each other's beliefs. Now, thinking whatever you may choose is a whole nother story, and expressing that however you choose is your own, you're at liberty to do so. However, again, when it gets to the point where someone's property is being damaged because of it, or their person themselves being harmed because of it, that is where things get out of bounds. And we know that as a people, and we definitely got to start respecting that. And a government that puts a police force in place to pretty much enact on the prejudices amongst us doesn't help that effort at all. So it would take a matter of reform and rolling things back and just looking at things full scale, because it's awful that this happened in California, because such actions before seen in this state has led to riots and sort of blowback that we all definitely want to stay away from as peaceful freedom-seeking people. So I want to talk about one of those things being, when should we be angry as people? I'll tell you one thing. I've been painted as a angry black man based on certain videos that I put out there and my responses on my interactions with police. And it's sad that I've been given such a title and given such a stereotypical type of a perspective by the public based on my own personal interactions with, again, who I felt and who others see as in the videos are prejudiced police officers based on my race. Now, if this were to happen to any other person, whether it be a black person, Spanish person, white person, then it should be looked at as just another person's freedom, another person's freedoms and liberties being tread upon by someone else that does not have the authority to do so, okay? And we need to be respected as people first, and no cop should be able to physically harm one another without there being some bit of due process in place, not just based on suspicion of such. And this angry black man stereotype, unfortunately, has been painted on us as black people, just based off of our response to these prejudices. And even myself, that's what I'm saying, have been a victim of this, because the videos that I have put out, there's tons of videos or tons of comments on my YouTube videos, and they're very, very hateful, very, very spiteful, and they are all racially charged. And the majority of them, I ended up finding out, coming from, or the majority of the views, one of my videos have like over 1 million views, and I was wondering how all of the traffic to these videos ended up coming about. And I ended up doing a little bit of digging and finding out there's a author by the name of Colin Flaherty who wrote a book called Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. And he wrote this book, and he has a website where he talks about there being prejudice against white people by blacks, and how the exacerbation of white on black violence in the media is pretty much disproportionate, and it's all out of I guess just all in our minds. And if you go on to this website, you'll see that he talks about his book, of course, yada yada yada, and some other stuff, and then there's a link to a website where it takes you to a whole bunch of videos where there's black people attacking white people and claiming to be victims. And my videos are actually on this website, And so I ended up finding out a lot of those responses, hateful responses that I've been getting on my videos have been coming from this website. And it's sad that, again, I'm just not looked at as a person having his rights, his freedoms, his liberties being being tread in upon by someone, again, who does not have the authority to do so, especially when I'm just another person expressing my rights and freedoms as an American living here in this country. And those are to be respected by the people that take an oath to protect them, right? But again, as a black person, when you go to defend this, you're looked at as being angry for some reason. So I want to talk about that anger, it being, I guess, when is it socially acceptable? Because when such incidents like 9/11 happen, we're supposed to be angry against the Muslims and go and fight them and go and kill them and sign up for war. But if something happens in our own backyard against our own people, we're just not supposed to be angry about it at all. And why is this socially acceptable that we're supposed to be angry on one hand about one subject, but not angry about something else on another? So this is something that we need to think about as a culture, societally, as a society, because again, if we want to start correcting these things, we have to attack them at the root. And as free people, we should have the liberty to be angry whenever we choose to be, as long as we're, again, not expressing that in a violent manner towards one another. So it's awful that we are told when to stay in check, when to calm down, when to relax, and when to comply. And we're told this, and it's sad that the perspective of this is really geared towards and aimed at black Americans and people of color, because the dominant supremacy part of it seems to be that the people doing the charging, doing the demanding, doing the controlling are white people, people in control. And I want to talk to you guys about if we are controlled by the state, or does the state control us? Because if you go to look at the dynamics with police and their expression of control in the inner city against how they treat black people, is very dominating, to where they perceive black people as being inferior, people of color as being inferior. And where does this come from? And if you guys have ever heard of chattel slavery, then I want you to think about that, because what chattel slavery is what most people think about, and in definition, and is the whole black people in chains and being able to take property legally that is yours, movable property, and taking it and moving it from one place to another. It can be sold, it can be traded, it can be inherited, but this is movable property, and it's called chattel property. And with chattel slavery, that applies to humankind. So this, in application in America, was how black people were treated during the slave period, so during the slave trade. And this mentality seems to have rolled over to where, again, the chains no longer apply unless it's in the mind. But when we see it being applied with police and how they enforce the law in the inner city, the way that they do that, again, is with a lot of force, to where they're treating the people of color, the black person, as if they're property, and they have the authority to just do as they please. And they claim to have the power of the state behind them to do such. And that, how can we allow this as a society to where the state can send out people to control other people. Isn't that what we're getting away from in the first place, or what we were supposed to be getting away from when we ended slavery, supposedly? Now again, if we still had slavery and it existed, then why would we feel as if we had to be slaves of the state and that the state had authority to do as they please over us? So how are citizens different from state property, and or how are citizens, or quote unquote, different from state property? Because when a person goes to jail, they're considered to be state property. They even have it on their jail uniform, state property. And the prisoners walk around with this uniform on, and they are issued prisoner numbers, inmate numbers, and that is their number to be looked at while they're in custody. These are all words being used to let us be known how slavery is being applied in modern day. If you guys haven't seen or heard about this documentary on Netflix, I'd like you guys to check it out. It's called 13, about the 13th Amendment, and its modern day application in here today. And if you guys don't know the history about it, the 13th Amendment, I'd like to tell you a little bit. The 13th Amendment, as it says, is neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Now, supposedly when the 13th Amendment was quote unquote ratified, because it's argued that it was not fully, but the 13th Amendment supposedly ended slavery. And it's saying here that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, which is someone being forced to into servitude involuntarily, except as a punishment for crime. And they're telling you right there that the state is taking the authority to say that you're free, quote unquote, and slavery doesn't exist, or involuntary servitude does not exist, except as a punishment for a crime. So prisoners are treated as slaves when they are taken to jail. That's why you have them working for 11 cents an hour or 2 cents an hour in some places, just working slave wages, or the chain gangs, and all of this stuff still exists because these prisoners, these people that are kept into property, are looked at as slaves. They're looked at as property, and the state can do with them as they please. You hear about prisoners people being killed in prisons. You hear about people in prisons being subject to all sorts of violent rapings and hazings and all sorts of evil things. And it again is being all done by the authority of the state. But we give the state the power, we the people. So we're condoning all of this to happen. And we know how bad the prison industrial complex is in our country, yet we don't do anything about it, especially here in California. And another one of the things attached to the 13th Amendment is the 14th Amendment, which I'd like to tell you guys about as well and how it applies. And the 14th Amendment says this: all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So if you look at the words that's being said here in the 14th Amendment, it's very key because they switch it up on you. They talk about citizens and then they talk about persons, okay? Now, citizens, citizenship, just look up those words, people. I mean, it gets very deep, but it has everything to do with the issuance of your birth certificate and you being looked at as being state property. When you're born, your mother is given a birth certificate, and supposedly, quote unquote, this is to just state that a person has been born, and it is a declaration thereof. But if you look on the birth certificate, there's so many groups of numbers, and there's also a statement on it that says that the property of the person is being given to the state by this declaration that is being signed by your mother and your father. Whoever signs off on it is giving property authority of you to the state. And you are issued your birth certificate and you are issued that social security number. And when they issue your death certificate, when you die, they're able to claim all of the benefits and what are they called? Dividends from the person's investment of you as a person. You can look this up, people. It is very extremely informative information, and it again applies to how we the people are looked at as slaves, because here again in this 14th Amendment it talks about you, the person, being a subject of the jurisdiction of the United States of America, and that involuntary servitude that you are involuntarily serving is work. When you go to work every day, you're involuntarily serving the state. You're going to work and you're making money for the state to only do what? You're not making any wealth. People think, hey, because I bought a new computer or bought the new iPhone or bought a new car, I'm making something. That's not called wealth. Those are called goods, okay? Real wealth is based off of how much value is what you've received from the purchase of those goods. For instance, if I buy some gold, how much value does that gold have versus that car that you just bought for $30,000, $40,000? Come 10 years down the line, how much is that car that you just bought for $30,000, $40,000 versus the amount of gold that I now have? I assure you, that car that you just bought is going to be a lot cheaper than that gold that I have. I probably would be able to buy that car with the amount of gold that I could have. So you see how that works is the gold itself doesn't lose the value, but the car does. So when you go to work and you're earning this paper money, this fiat currency that's being used to take the place of this gold, then you're really just recycling this paper for your servitude, your work. So you're trading in your hard-earned labor for nothing, for spoils, pretty much. And the state is saying they'll spoil you as much as they want to. And no state has the authority to take away from them spoiling you, which is okay if you want to be spoiled. But you also, again, have to look at what type of application you're taking as a person amongst the society. As a citizen, you are not a free person. And these are things that you want to learn. This is where the application of the first class and second class citizenship comes into place, okay? So if we talk about this and know about this, we've heard about this first class citizenship, second class citizenship deal. I'll get this right one of these days. Watch me. Stick with me, people. But anyways, so when it comes to second class citizenship, everybody immediately attaches that to people of color, black people. Why? Because they are looked at as being inferior. This first class citizenship is where these people are understood as being free people, free to do as they please. Now, the dynamic of such came about long before, we did, but the difference came in that the first class citizens during that time were people that had the understanding of life and what was thought of and spoken of as manifest destiny. So when this knowing of the manifest destiny came along, and these people that knew of this, I guess, moved on and created this new world called America, they founded these beliefs on this manifest destiny theology. And the people that knew this were all supposedly white and in the know. Now, when this battle came along and the Civil War, etc., and giving people, other people of color, black people and Spanish people, everybody else that was in this country at that time, Native Americans, citizenship, they were given second-class citizenship rights. Now, they were, again, looked at then as property. So this second-class citizenship in application was through the 13th and 14th Amendment. Yeah, we'll give them the freedom to live as they choose, but if they were to live amongst us, they're going to work, they're going to provide, they're going to work for us pretty much and keep us, the industry, in power. Then, if they happen to break any of the arbitrary laws that we create to keep them in check, then we send them into a lower class of citizenship, which is this slavery in prison, where we take away any and all rights and deprive them of their humanity. I say that again. Deprive them of their humanity. Who has the authority amongst us to deprive another of their humanity? Why would we as a society sit back and allow that to happen, especially when we call ourselves to be a free society? Now, the black people that knew this back then and fought for this, the abolitionists, and their understanding of the manifest destiny, pretty much, again, knew this and were the patriarchs, other patriarchs amongst our founding fathers that helped create our country. And it's sad that the mentality of this first-class, second-class citizenship still does apply, but this is how it does. And if we are ever want to be able to shake the chains of this idea, then we all have to understand why things are the way that they are. And this, a very funny thing about this manifest destiny thing I want to tell you guys, it's the image of it is the patron saint of manifest destiny, which you guys most likely, if you've seen any motion picture by Columbia before, the lady standing there holding the light up in the air, that's the patron saint of manifest destiny. And it's crazy because when the Statue of Liberty was first created, it was actually supposed to look more so like an African-American woman and had African-American features, yet they were told at that time the artist was told to change the face of the African-American woman, of the black slave, and change it into the ideal of Columbia, the patron saint of manifest destiny, which is why the Statue of Liberty looks as the way that she does. But if you look closely around her feet, ladies and gentlemen, she still does to have the shackles around her feet. The artist wanted to make sure that he left some bit of a signature there to let people know about the truth of its formation. So it's Again, these are truths that we just got to dig into as people. And I want to talk about a little bit about how they say it's the darkest before dawn. So I say to all my black people out there, let us be the darkness upon the earth to usher in the dawn of a new age. And recently here in California, it's been really dark outside. So I want to play a quick song for you guys by one of California's finest MCs. His name is Zion I out of Oakland. And I'd like to play his track for you now. It's called The Sun Came Out. And this again is by Zion I. Check this out.
Yeah, y'all. Yeah, it's like we just don't care. Homes on the ground, pop right there. People gather around the spot right here. A teardrop, multiple shots, a nightmare. Soon to be leaving, mama be grieving. It's hard staying even in gumbuck season. What's the reason we circle around and pray for the body laid on the ground? We all strange to the nights around, and the angels arrive once the trumpet sound. Crown the glory, behold the Lord, when you make it up top of the place there for me.
I said I've been through the rain, I felt all your pain, on my back is strained, the shit has gotta change. The sun came out today, rain on in the morning, the sun washed that away. The sun came out, the sun came out, the sun came out today.
Trust them, they'll get us all knocked for holding the claw to the boy's blood clots. Bullets peek from the front of his white tee, Crips in the street. This shit happen nightly, but you protected from gangsters who set trip and fiends and bites who bust with the tech quick. He made an exit, breathing erratically, tears like a river through the street, and it sat in me. Such a tragedy, life so casually can be taken. We could have saved him.
yes, ladies and gentlemen, the sun will come out. So definitely keep your eyes up, ladies and gentlemen, my black people, my white people, my brown people, my yellow people, all my people. I don't care where you are in the world. Just remember again to stay strong, okay? And take pride in who you are, you know, because right now it's definitely time for us to stand together, united as one. And people need to see the spectrum of colors exactly as that, you know. And I want to stand up proudly as a proud black American man here in America and a proud libertarian as well. So when you look at my show and my advertisement for Long Live Liberty with Governor Wildstar, when you look at my advertisement, you see that yellow background. Know that I'm representing the Libertarian Party with Lady Liberty up there shining bright as she can, letting people know that you do have the liberty to be as you please here in America. And the colors of Long Live Liberty are the colors of the Pan-African flag. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but that is the red, the black, and the green. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about just being proud right now, since it is Pride Month, and this has been deemed, June has been deemed Pride Month, I guess. It doesn't have to just apply to those of the LGBT community. This can apply to all of us as Americans, all of us as people, no matter who we are. And whether if you're Hispanic American, be proud of your Hispanic heritage. If you're Native American, be proud of your Native American heritage. If you're white American, be proud of whatever heritage you may have, whether it be Irish, Polish, Scottish, European, in whatever way. Even if it has attachments to Africa. And if you're African American, be proud. And if you're Black American, be proud as well. So I say, with the Black community here, if you don't know about the Pan-African flag, or anyone else about there, or just to talk, I'd like to talk a little bit about Pan-Africanism. And that is something new that came along in the 1920s. It actually was created by the UNIA, which is the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. It was actually made in response to a very popular song during the 1900s called "Every Race Has a Flag But the Coon." So in this song, every race has a flag but the coon. It was cited in the song that it established the term coon in the vocabulary as a racial epithet towards Black Americans. And in response to this song, the Pan-African flag was created to pretty much show that the Black people here in this country are free to do as they please and have the liberty to create. And that is the American motto, right? And that is why the Black flag was created, the Pan-African flag, to represent Black pride. And that is the red, the black, and the green, the red being, of course, to represent the blood that was spilled for the people that shed their redemption and liberty. The black is for the nobility and distinguished race to which we belong. And the green is, of course, to represent Mother Earth, our planet. So that is the colors of red, black, and green on the Pan-African flag. And it is also represented in Long Live Liberty with Governor Wildstar. So I'm a very proud Black American, and I want to definitely stand for my people and stand for all people that want to fight against any oppression against us expressing our liberties here in America. And as a proud libertarian, I will definitely stand up to defend those aspects and prevent anyone from oppressing us from freely doing as we please. And this one thing I want to talk about to you guys about being proud here in America as being a black America is being a black person in America is we're often told that our history didn't start until the slave period. And that's a lie. Okay? We definitely want to do our digging into our roots, into our history, to find out more about our people, okay? About our roots, no matter where you came from. I mean, I myself am African American. However, my roots do go into Europe with British Columbian roots and or British Canadian roots, and it's all crazy. So you want to dig into genealogy. You know, that's one of the other things that we don't do as people here in this country is we claim to be who we are just based on our skin color. When we end up finding out more about our genealogy, we end up finding out there's more to our roots than we know, and that we're more connected than we know. So if we all were to look into our roots as people, we'd find out that we're more connected than we think. And one of the people that went to express this was Marcus Garvey. He was one of the people that helped create the, like I said, the Pan-African movement back in the 1920s. And even though he was proposing then for all black people to move back to Africa, I'm proposing that we stay here and stake our liberty and hear who we are as Americans, as black Americans here proudly in this country, and just stand up proudly for who we are. I've never been to Africa. I wouldn't want to go there unless I'm going there for vacation. But this is my home, and this is where I plan on being and where I would love to stay as a free person. And I guess I could call myself a modern day Marcus Garvey, because I'm looking to gather everyone together and galvanize my black people, galvanize the people in our inner communities, galvanize everyone fighting again against everyone out there that is preventing us from living freely here in this country and living as a liberated American in our country. And we should be able to do so. And if we again looking to our history as people, we'll find out that we were a lot freer then than we were now. For instance, if you look into pre-Columbian transatlantic adventures into the Americas, you'll end up finding out that one of the people that came to this country is Pharaoh Ramses III. Did you hear that, people? Ramses III is actually considered the father of ancient America. If you, again, do a little bit of research, you'll find out these things. It's incredible to find out this knowledge when, again, the information that we're given in our schools is very limited, and we as black people have to go out and do a little bit of digging to find out a little bit about our own ancestry here as people, but not only that, but as Americans. So if you look, and you'll find that it is has been thought that King Ramses III was considered to be the father of ancient America. And before Columbus came here, it says here, according to an article, contrary to popular belief, African American history did not start with slavery in the New World, and one of the first documented instances of Africans sailing and settling in the Americas were black Egyptians led by King Ramses III during the 19th dynasty in 1292 BC. That's 1292 before Christ. And in fact, in 445 BC, the Greek historian Herodotus wrote of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs' great seafaring and navigational skills. So they were able to navigate through the oceans and come to the Americas. And this again is very monumental information that we should all know as Americans. I think this should have been in American history school books, okay? That way we could all be proud of who we are. And it was even discovered that the trade of nicotine and cocaine was being received from the ancient Egyptians back again before Columbus. And this was happening with King Ramses and with ancient Egyptians who were traveling between Africa and between South America, Central America, North America, and coming over to the people here, possibly mating with them and creating a culture and a culture of trade, even to where it was discovered that they were trading nicotine and cocaine, which was popular during the time because it was only found here and grown here in these areas. So there was a relationship there. That wasn't about conquering. It wasn't about taking over. And the whole idea of manifest destiny, even though the moral, I guess, idea of it is to create as you will, the ideal that it was acted on upon was more forceful, more of a conquering type of a pursuit. So when Columbus came over here with this ideal of manifesting his destiny and taking control of the new world, it was all about taking it from the people who were here. And those people who were here were from African descent. They were people of color, and they had black skin tones. So it again has been discovered that ancient Egyptians had been coming to the early Americas as early as 1000 BC and had been coming over here and again trading. There's other cultures that have even been discovered during that time. The Olmec culture, that's OLMEC culture, they existed from roughly about 1200 BCE to 400 BCE, and the Olmecs were believed to have been related to Africans. And again, this information is available to you to discover if you choose, if you go out there and research and find for yourself, and I encourage you to do so. Also, one of the great things that I found out about was a great city in North America called Cahokia. It was a city that was bigger than Paris, and it was completely, when it was discovered, of course, it had been completely abandoned. So here on this article about the Cahokia city, 1,000 years ago, huge pyramids and earthen mounds stood where East St. Louis sprawls today. Look at the demographics in East St. Louis. Now, there were pyramids there, and in what is today southern Illinois. So it says here that this majestic urban architecture towered over the swampy Mississippi River floodplains, blotting out the region's tiny villages. Beginning in the late 900s, word about the city spread throughout the southeast. So at the city's apex, it had in 1050, the population exploded to as many as 30,000 people. It was the largest pre-Columbian city in what became the United States, bigger than London or Paris at the time. Now, how crazy is it that we have a city in North America, in what would be now, again, modern-day St. Louis, around 1050, that had around 30,000 people in the United States, bigger than London or Paris, and we not know about this? I mean, this is the information that needs to be in American textbooks, definitely. And during the time, its culture was simply known as Mississippian and was lost during time. But when the Europeans finally started to explore Illinois in the 17th century, the city had been abandoned for hundreds of years at the time, and the region was inhabited by the Cahokia a tribe from the Illinois Confederation. Europeans decided to name the ancient city after them, despite the fact that the Cahokia themselves claimed no connection to it. So the Cahokian people said, hey, this ain't our city. It was here way before we even got here. But the Europeans at this time said, nope, we're going to call this town Cahokia and name it after you. When again, during that time, the Cahokians were even just calling it Mississippian. And this is extremely monumental information and life-changing information that I think all of us should definitely know. And again, I feel like it is up to each and every one of us to go out and find out more about what's going on in our country, what's going on about in our world. Find out who we are as people, black, brown, whatever the case may be, white. Just go out into this world and find out who you are and be proud of who you are. And if you're American, definitely dig more into American history to find out more about who we are and who we all should stand for now, united as people. And I'd like for us to, again, take on the traits that this country was founded on, which was standing united as one. And if we can unite as one and liberate ourselves away from the oppressors, the banksters, the police regime, the governments that pass laws to keep us from living as freely as we like, then we definitely have a chance to get away from those chains that enslave us as a society. And the time is now. And I definitely ask each and every one of you to gather with me and band with me here, Governor Wildstar in California, to fight against the power, fight the power, and break down the machine and build something anew, something based on something we all believe in, and that is liberty. Okay? We all stand for it, we all know it, and we all should embrace that. And jump on the libertarian bandwagon, and of course, I would love for you to support me, Governor Wildstar, and if you have been listening, I thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I do have a few announcements before I go. My album has been delayed until July 17th. If you guys haven't been involved with my music or know anything about it, I am releasing an album, a trilogy called Cue Ball, the Trilogy. And the second album, which is called Evolve or Die, will be now released on July 17th. I was going to release it on Flag Day, but due to some issues, I will now be pushing that back until July 17th. It's one of the best things about being independent is hey, I'm not going to be subject to anyone except for myself. So I do have the liberty to push my album back, and I just ask you all to continue to be patient with me. But just know that on my next episode, which will be on June 22nd now, I will be moving to bi-weekly Thursdays, so my next show will be June 22nd. Tune into that show because I will be making a very special announcement regarding my album, and also on that show, I'll be talking a little bit more about, of course, liberty. So please definitely tune in to my next show on June 22nd and follow me now here on Long Live Liberty, which will be bi-weekly Thursdays. Now, in between those weeks, you can catch my wife, who will be having her own show here on Gateway Radio Network. And her show is called The Yin and the Yang. So you can catch The Yin and the Yang with Lady Wildstar now here on Gateway Radio Network every Thursday, or every other Thursday in between my shows, which will be every other Thursday. And so next week again, you can catch her show at 5 p.m. here on Blog Talk Radio and the Gateway Radio Network. So please be sure to tune in and catch her, where her and her guests will be talking about various things regarding spirituality, regarding politics, regarding health and growth as a person. And if you, of course, just look at the name of the show, The Yin and the Yang, it's just speaking of the dynamics of the opposites. So I encourage you all to definitely tune into her show and find out more about how you can balance out those two dynamics of life, that duality that we all face here as human beings on this planet, and just learn how we can unite as one. So that is what we all are about here as people, and it's time that we step up to the plate and definitely encourage one another to start uniting as one and embracing each other as who we are, and knowing about how we are still enslaved as people, as a society, because we don't feel free. When you don't have the right to drive your car down the street as you please without getting a ticket for not having a new colored sticker on your car for registration, which is giving your property of your car to the state, then you're not free, okay? When you could be extorted for your money and have your property taken because you refuse to not comply, then you're not living freely. So I encourage us all, everyone out there that is listening to Long Live Liberty with Governor Wildstar, to unite with me and just help me fight against this system, and together we can. I really do feel like if we can unite and fight as a united front against all of the duality that faces or fights against us, the Republicans, the Democrats, the conservatives, the liberals. I mean, they slap all of these titles on us when really we're just people who want to live freely. We all have different ideals, and we should be free to express them as such. So, again, as a libertarian, I would like to give you the liberty to live as you please. So please, again, support me in my campaign, Governor Wildstar. Please be sure to tune in next time on my next show, Long Live Liberty with Governor Wildstar, which again will be on June 22nd. And be sure to find out more about my campaign for governor, my Facebook page, my website, my Twitter page. My website is governorwildstar.com. My Facebook page and Twitter is Governor Wildstar, so please just seek me out. And I am, again, Nickolas Wildstar, Libertarian Candidate running for Governor of California. So I do appreciate each and every one of you that have tuned in with me today, and thank you all for your time. And again, I wish you all of the best, and may the light of God and liberty shine on each and every one of you. Peace and blessings.